Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about IBJJF rules and how your location on the mat has a bearing on whether or not points are awarded. Now, in all sports, there is a competition surface area, right? Whether it's basketball that has lines all over the mat. I don't really watch basketball that much. Or hockey, there's some blue lines, there's a red line. In wrestling, there's some circles or whatever. I mean, I don't mean pro wrestling. I mean, freestyle or Greco or whatever. And those lines on the surface area tell the referee what is cool and what is not cool, what should be awarded points or what have you, and what should not, okay? And that also applies to IBJJF rules, right? And bear in mind, I'm talking about IBJJF rules, right? I mean, there's generally in well, not generally, there is, in IBJJF rules, there's a scoring area, right? And then there's what's called the safety area, right? And then beyond that, you are off the mat, okay? Now, there's a huge difference between something that happens on the mat, in the safety area, or off the mat, okay? Now in ADCC and other rule sets, ADCC, NAGA, what have you, it's totally different, right? In the ADCC, you can chase a guy out onto the highway, and if you take him down, you still get points. You see what I mean? But IBJJF rules, it is different, okay? And so let's just say, okay, there I am. Oh, you know what? Let's not do it all in green. Let's leave the mat in green, right? So generally, in IBJJF rules, the scoring area will be a certain color, whether it's green or blue. The safety area will be a certain color. Sometimes it's yellow. And then off the mat is off the mat. You know what I mean? So now let's say, right? Here I am. That's me. I'm the referee. I'm wearing a cool hat, right? And let's say there's two competitors, right? There's competitor 1 and there's competitor 2. Okay, now from here, right, let's say competitor 1 is taking down competitor 2 with a double leg takedown. Okay, it's a forward throw. Okay, and let's talk about the different situations. Okay, in situation 1, competitor 1 attacks competitor 2 with a double leg takedown, and they go completely off the mat and they land here. Okay, in situation 2, competitor 1 attacks competitor 2 with a double leg takedown, and they land here in the safety area. Okay, in situation 3, competitor 1 attacks competitor 2, and they land here in the scoring area, right? Those 3 moves, even though they're all a double leg takedown, and perhaps the guy lands in his back and it's clean, that's great. But here, he would get nothing. You get nothing for taking a guy off the mat, okay? And it doesn't matter if it's the most beautiful takedown in the world. You get nothing, okay? Here for this one, if you land in the safety area, the referee would count 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, right? And then he would award 2 points, and then he would say, stop, paro, and he would move you back to the middle of the mat, and he would start you in the same position, right? Here, if you take a competitor down in the scoring area, again, the referee would count 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3. He would award 2 points, and he would probably let the fight continue there. Although if it was too close to the edge of the mat, maybe he would stop it and move you back to the middle of the mat. So imagine this, okay? Let's talk more about double leg takedowns, all right? Oh, hold on a second. Let's talk more about double leg takedowns a little bit, right? And you tell me who is in a strategically better spot, okay? Let's say there's 2 competitors, right? Because, it's 2 people, right? And let's say competitor 1 is kind of here, okay? He's a little bit in the safety area, but not so much, right? And there's, and the other competitor is here, okay? And let's say they're both doing a double leg takedown, all right? Let me ask you a question. If this guy takes his competitor off the mat, if he does a double leg takedown and lands here, how much is he going to get? Right? You know what? I'm going to put it over their head, but let's do this again. All right? If competitor 1 takes competitor 2 down and they land here, he gets 0, right? But what if this guy takes him down and they land here? What's he going to get? After 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, the referee is going to award 2 points, right? So based on that, who is strategically in a more intelligent location for scoring points? It's this fellow here who is on the perimeter of the mat. You see what I mean? Let's talk about a different throw, okay? We can even talk about the same thing here, okay? Let's talk about the Captain Kirk throw. Let's talk about tomoe nage. Tomoe nage is a backwards throw. You sit down, you put your foot or feet on his tummy, and he goes flying over you, okay? So, once again, let's say that this guy does a tomoe nage on his friend, right? And the friend goes flying over him and he lands over here, right? What's he gonna get? He's gonna get nothing. You see what I mean? Right? But what if this guy puts his feet on his tummy and they go flying this way? What's he gonna get? He's gonna get 2. You see what I mean? So what the hell am I saying, right? So where you are on the mat, right, strategically, it depends on what throw you are doing and where you are going to land. You see what I mean? If you think this is going to be a double leg takedown, right, you want to be here with your back to the edge of the mat. So if he takes you down, right, you go off and you're going off the mat, he's going to get nothing. You know, but if you take him down and you land in the middle of the mat, you're going to be getting your 2 after 1, 2, 3, fantastic. Assuming his bum or his knees and a hand are still on the mat. You see what I mean? So for a double leg takedown, it is more intelligent to be on the perimeter of the mat. And if the referee is kind of lazy, maybe he'll even allow you to be hanging out in the safety area, you know, and your opponent takes you down, you're for sure not going to be on the mat. You see? Now, for tomoe nage, it's different. For tomoe nage, the Captain Kirk throw, where it's a backwards throw, you do not want to be here, you know? And that's something that I used to make my mistake with, is I would allow my competitor to come towards me, and then once they were coming towards me enough, I would sit down and send them flying, and I would generally send them flying off the mat, you know? And I did that when I was a brown belt, and but then by the time I was a black belt, I figured out, okay, that's a bad idea. So when I was a black belt, I changed the situation. You know what I mean? I remember I won the World Cup because the guy was in the safety area, right? And he was coming towards me and I was on the mat. And then as he was pushing back towards me, I sat down and he flew over me and we landed like right in the middle of the mat. You see what I mean? So the moral of the story is things that don't land on the mat. When you take a guy down, you land off the mat, it's not worth anything. You have to be on the mat for something to be worth points. You see what I mean? And before we wrap this up, there's just one more thing I want to chat about, okay? Imagine this, okay? Imagine there's competitor 1 and competitor 2, right? Here we'll redraw our lines on the mat. Oh, don't roll away, pen. Right? And let's say that competitor 1 takes competitor 2 down and you land here, okay? And let's say from here, right, you scramble off the mat, okay? One of 2 possibilities are possible here, which is why I guess they're called possibilities, you know? The referee might award that just an advantage, right? An advantage is, you know, when something almost happens, right? So he took you down, your butt landed on the mat, or your knees and a hand landed on the mat or whatever, and then in a scramble you went off the mat, okay? Maybe he's just getting an advantage for that. Or maybe the referee thinks that you went off the mat to purposefully avoid the points being awarded. And in that situation, the referee might award 2. You know, if he thinks that you went off the mat purposefully to avoid the points being scored against you. Under IBJJF rules, the referee can award you 2. That's technically a penalty, but so be it. You see what I mean? My point is, though, that here, there's a chance he's just going to get an advantage. You see what I mean? But here, if you take the guy down this way, he's getting 2 for sure. There's no, unless the guy, you know, gets back to his feet and runs away and stuff. That's going to be an advantage. You follow me? So where you are on the mat has a bearing on whether or not points will be awarded. All right? And you should definitely think about where you are in the mat or where you should be on the mat, depending on what throws are available. I remember years ago, I was refereeing a guy who was a former student of mine, and he was wrestling this guy who was like ultra, ultra, ultra aggressive. And and competitor one, right, he was moving forward, and competitor two was able, every time competitor one tried to take him down, competitor two, they ended up off the mat, 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 off the mat. And all of those are worth 0. You know what I mean? And the other fellow, he was just defending the takedowns, and they happened to be, you know, going off the mat. He wasn't, I don't think he was even aware of what he was doing and how it was strategically advantageous to him, right? But then, after chasing him all around the mat, this guy got kind of tired, and all of a sudden, this fellow took him down, right there, and he awarded 2. He was awarded 2. You see what I mean? Because it landed on the mat, you know? So what am I saying? I am saying sometimes it is better to draw your opponent in than to chase them down. Because if you're chasing them and they are fleeing, right? If you're chasing after them, there's an excellent chance that they're going to be, you know, in an area on the mat, you know? If you're chasing after them, there's an excellent chance they're in an area of the mat where when you finalize a takedown, it's not going to be worth anything. You're going to be going off the mat to do it. You see what I mean? But then, as you're chasing after them, you're chasing them, you're chasing them, you're chasing them, all they have to do is change levels and take you down, and you land right in the middle of the mat. Does that make any sense? You know what I'm talking about? So, and this is why, to wrap things up, you know, this is why sometimes, let me redraw my mat here. Right? And this is why you see sometimes at the highest levels, right? You see competitors who, right, they bump fists and then they do like a lap of the mat. You know what I mean? They back up and they try to get their opponent to come after them. You know what I mean? Because that way, when your opponent's chasing you around the mat, you can all of a sudden change levels and take them down. You see what I mean? But if they take you down, you're going, you see what I mean? From here. You know, it's much better to suddenly change levels and take them onto the mat. But if they take you down, where are you going? You're going off the mat. Ah! Does this make any sense? You know? Anyway, there's my little babble. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, just write them in the comments section below. Or if you see me at a tournament refereeing, you want to talk more about this, just come over and say hello. I'm generally a friendly guy. All right, see you later.